Topic 3 in our module 1, we are working with decimals today. We're going to learn how to put them on a number line, compare them with greater, less than, or equal to. And the first thing we're going to do is review expanded form that you should have learned previously in 5th grade. So I want you to do numbers 1 and 2. Write both of these numbers in expanded form. You have about 3 minutes. Go for it. All right, who can tell me how to write number 1 in expanded form? 200. What's after hundreds, place? 40. What do you say when you get to that number? 200. Okay. Not 12. Who can finish it? 10, but not 10. It's tenths plus 2 hundredths. You're writing it how you say it. So number 2, what am I going to write? Do you have a question? Yes. What? Did you use plus signs in the middle of it? Then you're fine. Number 2. Six hundredths. Make sure you're putting that TH after it when you're behind the decimal. Make sense? No, you're good. I was just clarifying. All right, turn the page. Mr. Morris loves this problem, so I'm going to go ahead and let him do this one.
And I'm not saying nothing the whole time.
I do love this problem. Okay. Recall, you can write decimals to represent fractions with a denominator of 10 or a power of 10, such as 100, 1,000, etc. You can use decimals to write amounts of money. That's why you're going to see a lot of money problems coming up, guys, in these decimal ones, because it's one that is very relatable. And in U.S. currency, we use decimals. The Japanese yen doesn't do it as much. Okay, Steve saw this advertisement outside a convenience store. He went in and handed the cashier a penny to pay for his bottle of water. The cashier told him it wasn't enough money. Who is correct? And explain your reasoning. So this is the sign that he was looking at. We want you to do this individually. You need to write out your answer. What you've all answered at your table, we'll give you a couple minutes to talk about it. So we're going to give you 3 minutes total. There's the problem, all the setup. You can see the sign. Tell me who's right. Is it Steve or is it the clerk, the cashier? Okay? Okay, by a raise of hands, since you've already got it written down, and I can come by and look, how many of you think that Steve was right, that he should have gotten change for his penny? Makes no sense, right? Okay, how many of you think the cashier is correct, that that wasn't enough money? Amari, you got to choose one or the other.
And you had to answer because I forgot to answer.
Oh. Did you guys hear what he said? What did he say?
Okay, put your hand down. Let's try this again. How many of you think Steve was correct, that he should have gotten change for his penny? I only see one hand. That's McShann's.
Mine's right here.
Okay, hands down. How many of you think the cashier is right? Why is Steve right, Kier? Sammy? Okay. Why, Elijah, why is the cashier right?
Because like in a store and it said like if like there was a sign like this, it would that would be equal to 99 pennies or 99 cents. Because if it was 1.00
But what symbol did they use on their sign?
Oh my goodness. I just noticed.
What did you just notice?
I noticed that it has the cent sign, and then we were all thinking that it has the dollar sign.
Yeah.
It would be a cent. That's like lower than a penny.
I was adamant it was
Guys, Steve was right.
Yes!
Okay. Kira, you didn't raise your hand for Steve.
That's not what you wrote either. That is not what you wrote.
Guys, right there is the problem. The store used the wrong symbol. They used the cent sign. So what they wrote was 99 hundredths of a cent. Meaning that if he gave them a whole penny, they actually owe him 1/100th of a penny back. Now, this was probably a typo, and what you guys all automatically assumed was it was that. Okay? Normally, guys, listen up. Normally, when we do money, we put it in terms of dollar, because dollar is our base currency. But we do have the cent symbol. So if we're talking about cents, 99 hundredths of a cent would be less than 1 penny. Okay? So what was the issue? They used the wrong symbol. Or the wrong units. You guys remember how we kept talking about how important units are, right? We've stressed that for at least the last month.
Right there, just prove it.
This right here is exactly what we're talking about. They used the wrong units. They used cents. But we're used to working in dollars. So does everybody understand why Steve was right? Okay. Now, with that setup, consider the cost of each item. Circle the correct representations. If it's not correct, state why not. So we have 2 parts. Circle the correct and not correct, state why not. Item A is $1.50. Circle the ones that are right. Tell me what's wrong with the ones that are wrong. Part B, it costs $1. Circle the ones that are right. Tell me what's wrong for the ones that are wrong. Again, let's do individual work. We want you guys focusing in on this. Once you've answered all 8 of those, you can compare with your table, but we want you to do it by yourself first. We'll give you about 3 minutes. Okay, I gave you an extra minute actually. So let's take a look at these. We're looking for which ones represent $1.50.
Sit down, please.
Would $1.50 work? Why not? He said no, why not? Because you're supposed to state why not if they're not correct. What's half a dollar? 50 cents. So that one is actually correct. Okay, what about 1.5 cents? Elijah, why not? Okay, so why is it wrong? You told me what it actually is, but you didn't say why it was wrong. They used the wrong units.
Write that down, everyone. Did you write that here? Write it. Don't sit there and smile about it. Do it.
Okay, what about $1.50? Does that work? Yes. What about 1.50 cents? Why not? They use the wrong units. Not necessarily. Okay. Now for part B, we're looking at those that are $1. Does $1 represent $1? Yes. What about 100 cents? Pretty accurate. What about one with a dollar with two zeros? What about 1, 2 zeros and cents? Why not? Wrong units. Guys, are you starting to see the importance of units?
Oh yeah, I see it.
Okay? I hope so, because we started grading tests this morning, and apparently there are a lot of you who still didn't understand units on the test. So, unfortunately, that's not going well for you. That look is priceless. Guys, you should be paying attention. We need your highlighters out. And since we already did this with A1, we're actually talking about your journal entry here, Salem. So you should probably pay attention. Have your highlighter out, like I just requested. Okay, you can write a rational number in the form A over B, where B is not equal to 0. The reason being, I cannot have 0 in my denominator. Mathematically, we have not yet made the breakthrough to allow us to take something and divide it into nothing. Eventually, someday we may. If you can write a decimal as a fraction, then it is a rational number. So that is our key definition. If I can take a decimal and write it as a fraction, then it is a rational number. Yes, sir. That's funny because you were pointing at me. Okay, so with that definition, remember that when it comes time for your journal entry today. Decimals are valuable when you need more precision for measurements between whole numbers. So they get us those parts in between. The decimal point in a number separates the whole part from the fractional part. The digits following the decimal represent a value less than 1. So,
Stop, please.
my guess would be Mabel.
Oh.
Let's use a number line to represent decimals. We did not assign numbers, so we're not going to do number 1. We're going to go straight to number 2. Plot a point on the number line to represent each decimal. So there's our task. I'm going to do the first one with you guys to make sure everybody understands. One of the first things you need to do in these types of situations is figure out what type of system they are using. So I know that this line here represents 0. This line here represents 1. If I count, that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces between 0 and 1, correct?
You did loops the first time.
Just for you, Miss McShann. Last time I just used it the way I did it, which is I go 1, 2, 3, so it's a lot quicker. But Miss McShann was like, you should use loops. They look prettier.
Not that they look prettier, they just show you moving that many units.
So it took me 10 moves to get from 0 to 1. So how far is each individual section? Bitler? Good, 1/10. So if I wanted to label them further, I could go like this, right? All the way across. Here's your key. If I'm looking at a number like 2500ths, now it's not right down the line, is it? But I know it's past the 2/10. This number tells me how far past. So I go to the 2/10, which is right here. But I'm going to go halfway past it. So my line, and I'm actually get rid of those. I wish we had a better eraser with this smart board. That's too big. It's hard when you got such a huge circle. So I'm going halfway between the 2/10 and 3/10 for 2500ths. The way we plot a point, the point itself goes directly on the number line. The letter representing it goes above. The number goes underneath the number line. And that is consistent. That's the way you will always plot points.
Write it exactly like he wrote it,
Okay?
please.
So the number goes under the number line. Which point it is goes above it. The dot representing it goes right on the number line. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, last class struggle. So we're going to do 2 together instead of just 1. So let's look at 1 and 3800ths. That means I'm going past 1 because I have 1 whole. Does that make sense? I'm going 3/10 past the 1. So I go 1, 2, 3. But then I go another 800ths. So I'm almost to my next line. So that's going to be somewhere in that area. So that would be 1 and 3800ths, and I would label that one B. Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions? Okay, you have 6 left to do. It shouldn't take you more than 30 seconds for each, so we'll give you 3 minutes. Go. If you have time, you can actually start working on 3 and...
All right, let's look at C. 5/10. Where am I going to put 5/10 on my number line? Who can tell me where to start and where to move? Yes.
Start at, because there's nothing in the first place.
There's no whole number. Tenths place. Think about it like money, guys. How many numbers do you have to have after the decimal when it's money? You have 100 numbers after the decimal? 2. So we can think about it like 50 cents is halfway between $0 and $1. Yes? Does that make sense? All right. I have 2 and 3/10, and I'm going to go ahead and add that 0 to make it look like money. So now I have $2.30. Where am I going to start on my number line, and where am I going to stop? Who can tell me? Okay. So that is D. Make sense? All right. 5600ths. Where's that going to come? Tell me where to start and where to stop.
So you would start at 0.
There's no whole number.
Stop.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yes, it's a little further than halfway between 50 cents and 60 cents. Yes? Since it's in the 5 is in the tenths place, what does 5/10 represent? 5/10 is 50, right? So it's between 50 and 60. Makes sense? All right, $2.92. Where am I going to start? Where am I going to stop? Nine spaces to the right. Then I'm going to do what? I need to go a little further because it's 92, not exactly 90. That is not what I wanted to do. Okay. All right. G, $1 or 1 and 7500ths. Where am I going to start? Where am I going to stop? Somebody different, guys. This side is just burning with fire. Okay. Okay. halfway in the middle because it's 5, and we know 75 comes right in the middle of 70 and 80. So that's G. And the last one, 1 1/10. Somebody different. Start at 1, move 1 space to the right, and that is where I land. Any questions about that? All right, so which number has the greatest value that we put?
There's way too many side conversations going on right now. You guys need to be paying attention to what she's saying. She's about to give you 2 of the most important things you're going to have out of today's lesson. Sorry.
It's okay, I'm getting message after message. All right, which number has the greatest value that we put on the number line? Amari? 2 and 92 hundredths has the greatest value. I didn't ask that part yet. All right, which one has the least value? Colin? 25 hundredths, yes. Any questions? All right, so using that information, how can you use the number line to compare numbers? And when they talk about compare, they mean greater than, less than, or equal to. That is what they are talking about. So how can we use the number line to do greater than, less than, or equal to? What do we see? Is the, and the farthest to the left is the, that's the key part. Yes. Numbers to the right are greater.
Write that down. Right. Tanner?
Numbers to the left have less value. And you can remember this with the saying, left is less. Everything on the left is less. Make sense? You're not on a number line.
So we're going to give you guys a chance, and this is a common task. You're going to analyze the number line. A lot to do here. Please mark your text. Label each tick mark on the number line with the decimal value it represents. Then plot points to represent 3/10 and 4/10. So 2 things. Label each tick mark. Plot the points for those 2 pieces. Then you're going to plot and label 4 points that represent decimals between 3/10 and 4/10. Our next task, and this was actually one of the most missed questions on this test when we gave it last year, write 4 decimals between 45 hundredths and 46 hundredths. So you're going to do those 2, technically 3 because 5 has 2 parts. We're going to give you guys about 6 minutes, 2 minutes for each section. Go. Here's our big piece, guys. I should have realized it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to get to 25 hundredths, right? Yeah. So if I divide that by 5, I get 5 hundredths. Meaning the next one's 1/10, 15 hundredths, 2/10, 3/10, 35 hundredths, 4/10, 45 hundredths. So that would label each tick mark. We've done this one. Now, I need to plot points to represent 3/10 and 4/10. So to plot those points, that means I draw the number on the lines. So I've now plotted those points. I now need to plot and label 4 points that represent decimals between those two. So I can choose any ones I want. Honestly, there's an infinite number I could put, but I'm going to try to keep it relatively simple. So I'm going to go with 31 hundredths, 34 hundredths, 37 hundredths, and 39 hundredths. So have I plotted and labeled 4 points in between those two? Does it have to be those 4? No. As long as you've got 4 that are between them, you're good. So we've done this.
Think of it as place value. What place value is that 3 in? It's in the 10th place. So what is 3/10? What is 3/10? 30. And what is 4/10? 40. So what comes between 30 and 40, and then add your decimal back. Think of it as place value.
Okay. Guys, that gets us to our next one. Please listen.
Can you wait one more second so you can finish this?
Okay, we have 4 decimals between 45 hundredths and 46 hundredths.
Really important, pay attention.
This was one of our test questions last year that almost everybody failed. Even though we did this problem in class, just like this. So pay attention. If I need 4 between, and you could actually kind of think of it up here. So I'm saying here's 45 hundredths. Right after it is 46 hundredths, right? How do I get 4 points in there? Dean? Go to the thousandths place. So I'm starting at 45 hundredths. I can say, 451 thousandths, 453 thousandths, 455 thousandths, 457 thousandths, 46 hundredths. Or 460 thousandths, 46 hundredths. Does that make sense? Was that 4 in between those two? Yes. Technically, I could have said 451 and then go 4,512, 4,514. Doesn't matter. I have an infinite number of possibilities between those two. We just asked you for 4 of them. The key is continue to extend your place values. That gets those numbers in between them. Does that make sense? Okay. We have a little extra time. Okay, you are babysitting your neighbor Emily, who is in the 4th grade. Emily is doing her homework and asks you whether her work is correct. Write a rule that states how to determine when a decimal is greater than another decimal. So we want you to write a rule. If you had a really good teacher last year, you probably know a rule for it. And then explain to Emily whether or not her homework is correct and instruct her on how to correct any incorrect answers. So, explain whether it's right, but more importantly, correct any incorrect answers. So you need to look at it, circle the greater decimal in each pair. That was what her homework was. Did she do it correctly? If not, tell her why not. Write a rule on how to compare it, and then give her the answers. Okay, we'll give you guys about 5 minutes to work through this. Okay, who was able to come up with a rule? Adrian? Oh, you were just getting your hair, sorry. Elijah?
That means the number that it is greater.
I love all of that. Let's change instead of whole. What could we use instead?
What words have I been saying the whole time?
Greatest.
No.
Look at it. Add
Words.
Care?
Say 2 words together, guys. What have I been saying?
No.
Decimal point. Less is less. Mr. Moore.
At least she listens.
Yeah?
Mr. Moore. That's what we do.
How are we? She does say Mr. Moore a lot. What has she been talking about for every number we've been looking at?
What blank is it in?
Liam? No?
Close.
Yeah, money is close.
Place value.
Place value. So if we just take Elijah's definition and instead of say whole number, we say place value. So compare by place value. The higher number in the greatest place value is largest. So in other words, if I have a number that has a larger 10 than the other number, that's the larger number. If I don't have anything until I'm in the tenths, the one with the higher tenths place is the higher number. It doesn't matter anything after that place value. It's whatever the largest place value is, that's where I start my comparison. Okay? So as we look through it, did Riley get number 1 correct? Yes. Did she get number 2 correct?
No.
No, why not? Miller?
Because 25 has 3 in the tenths place instead of 4.
Awesome. Excellent. First is correct. Second is incorrect
Guys, quit talking, please.
because 4 tenths is a greater, there's the T, greater place value than 3 tenths. What about the third one?
Can I interject for just a minute?
Sure.
What I told the kids on my side was make the decimal places even. So one of them has 2 decimal places and one of them has 1 decimal place. So add a 0 so they both have 2 decimal places. And then look at it like money. Which one is more?
So 6.
60 is bigger than 9, right?
Did you hear that? See, I think.
Okay. So for number 3, what is our answer?
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, the noises on this side got stopped.
Yeah, it's driving me
Me
nuts.
too.
And it's just random noises too. It's not.
Yeah, they're all doing it.
Okay. The third is incorrect
4 getting up.
Salem and Mayberg, y'all have got to hush.
because 6 tenths is bigger than 0 tenths. And the fourth one, incorrect. Whole numbers always bigger.
Write it down,
She
Selma.
wants to tell you what she wrote.
Who does?
I don't know.
Riley? Guys, I couldn't hear her because you're talking too much. Say it again, please. Good. Go on the place value until you find a number that's different, and then the larger number is larger. Okay? Guys, is this all making sense? I hope so, because we now need to turn to our homework. Go ahead and pull out page 125, 126.
Stop talking. You do not have to talk to your book to turn the page. Hush.
Or make a noise.
So on our journal entry, we actually gave you a great answer to the journal entry and what we highlighted in today's lesson.
Quit packing. That makes
Number 1, plot each decimal on the number line shown. Again, this is the number that goes underneath. This is the letter that goes above. The dot goes directly on the line. Okay? Write 4 decimals between 8200ths and 8300ths. We actually just did a whole activity on that. It gets into the place values. So you're going to want to write something in the thousandths where they're different. order the decimals from greatest to least. This is actually one of the biggest parts right here, guys. You have to be cognizant of which way they want that list to go. It's different if it's least to greatest versus greatest to least. Because it's greatest to least, I'm going to start in the place values. They all have 5s in the hundreds. They all have 10s in the 10s. So I'm now to the ones places where I see the first differences. So the biggest one I see is a 6. There are actually 3 of them, the 6s. So then I go to the next place value. The 8 is bigger than either of the others. So I'm going to start your list for you. The first number in your list should be 516 and 8400. So then I put a comma. Then I do the rest of them. Does that make sense? Okay. Turn the page. Compare the values in each pair using our symbols. We didn't do a whole lot of that today, but this is a third grade standard. You guys should have a lot of practice with this. The one I've always used is the alligator goes for the bigger one. So the mouth is open. He wants to eat as much as he can. So you're going to have to convert the decimals into a place value that's equivalent to the fractions. Our last one, Janet's dog had 8 puppies. She recorded the weight of each puppy at birth. List the weights in ounces from least to greatest. So now I'm starting at the smallest one. They gave you all of them in ounces, so fortunately they didn't throw any extra things at you. The key is I'm starting at the smallest. So you're going to want to find the smallest value first. Do I have questions? Does everybody understand what you need to do? Okay. Good luck on that one.